Denny Hamlin wins at Pocono, and not everybody's happy about it. We'll talk about it next. Welcome into Stuck in the Catch Fence. My name is Ryan Peters. I'm joined by a wooden chair and a white sign that may not be safe for work to read. Joe is here. I thought he might have ran away. He said he had a ticket to Long Pond, Pennsylvania. I didn't think anything about it. Just was going to let him do his thing.
I was going to go fuck Denny Hamlin up. I was looking for him. That fucker.
So, Pennsylvania, Pocono, Long Pond, up in the mountains. Joe had I'm not sure if it was a tricky triangle today, but it was most certainly a heated triangle today, as we had all kinds of incidents throughout the race. Denny Hamlin, Rex, Alex Bowman, again, the third time that they've hit each other in 3 weeks. Alex Bowman was one time responsible for that, but he just simply got loose and wrecked, and Denny Hamlin was collected. The last 2 times, Denny Hamlin just straight up hit Alex Bowman. Yeah. Denny Hamlin also, as you may have seen, got into it with Kyle Larson. He says he didn't hit him. We'll have video evidence that says maybe that is not true. Just maybe. And then
he ran him up in the fucking wall. Sorry, go ahead.
And then we will talk about possibly the worst helmet throw of all time. Austin Dillon, who was upset at Tyler Reddick, decided to throw his helmet at Tyler Reddick, 20 feet short, but, close enough. But outside of that, typically, Joe, Pocono as of late has been very, very excited, and it definitely has come with headlines. I know we're wanting to wait for this. You've been telling me, you're like, they're going to catch tape. They're going to catch something on Denny Hamlin's car, and he's going to have to forfeit. But it looks like that's not the case. But at the end of the day, Denny Hamlin steals the headlines. What was your overall thoughts of today's Pocono race? Outside of the headlines, just the racing for the beginning.
Man, I actually thought it was a good race. Every restart was incredible. I thought, the initial restarts were incredible. It seemed like in stage 3 there, you couldn't get a restart without somebody wrecking, but I think that's Pocono. Obviously just what we talked about on the weekly show, the younger drivers struggled with the track and I thought we would see that. Some veteran drivers struggled with the track today. Joey Logano lost himself. It was, I think it was a pretty typical Pocono race, really. I thought Kyle Larson, I kind of knew, I think there was about 18 laps left. Kyle Larson had about 10 lap older tires than the next 3 cars behind him. I kind of knew if it came down to a restart, he was going to get caught up because he just wasn't going to be as fast as Hamlin and Truex. And that's kind of what happened. But still, I think at the end of the race there, I'm sure we'll get into it. Denny Hamlin, I think didn't race Kyle Larson clean. I think it's a racing move. I think that everybody else would have done the same thing. I'm still going to be pissed at Denny Hamlin, but I do think he ran him high up into the wall. And essentially ended Larson's day or a shot to win. But outside of that, I thought it was a great race.
Yeah, I think that Pocono now, it used to be kind of like what Richmond was, just a shorter version, a strategy race, fuel, things of that nature. And I think that's changed. Now, Richmond stayed that way. But, I think what we've seen out of Pocono in the last few years is all kinds of headlines coming out of it. We saw, just how difficult it was for certain drivers during the race. There was a lot of strategy involved. Sometimes you'd have half the field pit, then the other half wouldn't pit, and just different things. Like it seemed like there was a storyline everywhere on the track, Joe. And I think that's what typically leads to a really, really good race. Even if like the one-on-one racing may not have been great, the entire time you're captivated. Like, okay, if my driver goes in now, where's he going to come out? Are we going to go to stage points? Are we not going for stage points? Things of that nature. And I think that leads to a good product for a good race. That being said, we definitely have plenty of headlines. It looks like we have Truex Fan 19 here. He said that that race was crazy, And
Crazy.
we crazy. And then Chain Gang Saws said, "Did you all hear Joey's in-car meltdown?" I did not hear that.
I didn't either.
He said he went bonkers. I tried to find it, but if we do find that on Radioactive, whenever that's produced on Tuesday or Wednesday, we will make sure that we have that on the weekly show.
Well, I wouldn't have been able to hear that anyway because I actually watched the race today from the boat, and I couldn't hear real well. I could only watch it. So,
gotcha. And you still look tan as ever.
Oh, I got fried today, man. Look at that.
So let's get into it. Denny Hamlin wins at Pocono, and this is now his 50th career win. So I want to talk about Denny Hamlin first, Joe, winning this race, his overall legacy by winning this race. He had a good car. You and I both knew Denny Hamlin was going to be one of the people fighting for this win.
Mm-hmm.
He gets his 50th career win. The only thing that Denny Hamlin doesn't have in his resume is obviously a championship.
60th.
60th career win?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sorry. I thought it was 50th career win. You might be right. I apologize. I'll edit that if I need to. This at the end of the day, Denny Hamlin, I believe
you're right. 50th. I'm sorry.
Okay. That's okay. This is one of his best tracks. Some would say arguably his best track. I mean, last year he would have won this thing back to back if he didn't have a piece of tape on the front of his car that didn't change the fact that he would have won that race. I mean,
7th win, really eighth win.
Yeah.
That tape didn't do anything.
So, I mean, and the funny thing is, Joe, like he's come to this track now back-to-back years, and he's had to pull the same stunt twice, shoving Ross Chastain in the wall, now shoving Kyle Larson into the wall. I know he got the win. I know there's a lot of people mad at him, but at this point, I got to ask you this question. Has Denny Hamlin surpassed his great rival and Ross Chastain as the most hated driver in NASCAR?
No, I don't think so. No. I mean, you can be mad at Denny Hamlin all you want. I mean, obviously, he took my driver out of the race today. I got a sign in the back of me that says "fuck Denny Hamlin," but
there's a time and place, Joe. That wasn't it.
But really, you're talking about back-to-back wins. I know the win was taken away from last year. Seven wins total at Pocono. Pocono is really that super speedway that actually is not a crapshoot. There's strategy to it. There's, like you said, there's a lot that goes into this race and knowing how to drive the track. And we saw Denny Hamlin win this race 2 years in a row. Caveat last year with the tape gate, but with the same move. And that's not because it's a dirty move. It's because he knows how to win at the track. It was same turn, same move, same thing, and that's what it is. He knows what he's doing on this track. He knows to run the low line and slide the lead car up into the wall to get the lead. That's what he intended to do. And really, Kyle Larson, if you pay attention to game film, Kyle Larson should have known that's what Denny Hamlin was going to do. So I don't know how you block it without turning yourself or hooking yourself, but he did the exact same thing 2 years in a row, and it paid off for him 2 years in a row. So he knows how to drive the track.
You don't think it's a dirty move?
It's 100% a dirty move. But
okay, I thought you said it wasn't a dirty
but
move.
I do. I mean, I'm upset that Kyle Larson. I thought Kyle Larson put himself in position to win. Like I said, I knew. Kyle Larson had 10 lap older tires on that restart with like 18 to go. I knew that those tires probably weren't going to hold up for him, and cars were going to catch up fast. And one thing I would say is I would be perfectly okay if Kyle Larson would have done that to Denny Hamlin. So I'm not going to sit here and bash Denny Hamlin for winning a race, even though I can't stand the guy. He did what I would expect my driver to do to win a race, what I would expect Kyle Busch to do to win a race. However, I don't think Kyle Busch would do something like that anymore.
And in case you are wondering what exactly did happen, I will share my screen with you guys so you can see the actual film. Joe, are you see that, sir?
Yeah, I can see it.
Kyle Larson ended up 21st in this race. Take another look. Denny said he never hit him. It looks like contact is happening right there.
There's contact. Yeah, I mean,
it looks like contact to me.
Come together, and Denny, takes what he needs. He's coming up the racetrack. The 5 sort of running his lane.
Runs him right in the wall.
Look, there's a lot of room there between the two.
Okay. So there's the evidence of what we saw. That's why everybody's upset. That's why Denny Hamlin got booed. And the one thing that I'll say, 2 things of hypocritical, I shouldn't say hypocritical for the other aspect of it, but things that don't make sense to me based upon what we've seen and what we've heard. Denny Hamlin has a show called Actions Detrimental because he doesn't think that NASCAR appropriately punishes people whenever they intentionally wreck people according to the rule. Now we've seen Denny Hamlin 3 weeks in a row. You can say it wasn't intentionally wrecking Alex Bowman. He's sure as hell not gone any way out of the realm of moving to make sure he doesn't hit Alex Bowman. And then absolutely, I mean, it was deja vu all over again from Yogi Berra to see him hit in the same exact turn, in the same exact spot, Ross Chastain. Mm-hmm. So it is a dirty move coming from a guy that bitches about how people drive dirty and don't give anybody respect and space anymore. If he did that when he did that to Ross Chastain last year, Joe, we all came on a show and said, we understand it. Ross Chastain does not get the benefit of the doubt racing against people anymore. We understand why Denny Hamlin would do that. But the fact that he did it to Kyle Larson makes no sense. There's a way that they could have raced each other, and Kyle Busch showed you how to pass somebody cleanly and aggressively. He did it during the tunnel turn, during the truck race. He waited on the very last lap against Corey Heim. And, a lot of people, if he would have the last thing that I would want to see as a Kyle Busch fan, for him to go in the truck series and wreck somebody like Corey Heim to get a win in a truck series race. That being said, if he would have done that, Joe, you would have heard about it all over social media. God, the Facebook groups would have all got their pitchforks back out that they put on layaway. They've been hiding them for a little bit because they're now closet Kyle Busch fans because he has a bow tie on. But I think we're to the point, Joe, and I think the fans now do this as well, is we saw Ross Chastain win a race. And I think the reaction was mixed. Every time Denny Hamlin wins a race, it is a chorus of boos. Yeah. It is an absolute, like when he won at Stafford, they booed. He wins here, they booed. When he goes to Martinsville, it is overwhelming, and that's his home state. It is overwhelming amount of boos. So I think we're to the point, because Denny Hamlin is a hypocrite, that people don't like him. They think he's fake. They don't. The same reason we don't like Joey Logano, except Joey Logano can be nice and actually does good in the booth. Denny Hamlin just always comes across as a dick, as a prick, as he's better than you. And if you've ever met him, he's actually been that way to me.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
And I think now it's to the point, Joe, that I think he might be the most hated driver in NASCAR. I don't think he's to the point where Ross Chastain comes across as a blue-collar guy and does some mistakes. He races hard, but doesn't come across as fake. Denny Hamlin, outside of Joey Logano, might be as fake as it comes.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. Denny Hamlin's an asshole. He goes on and he spews that bullshit, basically on Actions Detrimental. You don't know, half the time he's lying, half the time he's actually, he said some good stuff on there, but his personality, he's just, he's one of those guys, Bubba Wallace, when we talk about him being an asshole, and no doubt Bubba Wallace is an asshole, but that's kind of funny. No doubt Bubba Wallace is an asshole, but so is Denny Hamlin. There's a couple assholes just straight out. That's their demeanor. That's how they are in everyday lives, their everyday life. Denny Hamlin is the type of person that would yell at his mother for walking into his house with shoes on because he's an asshole.
I agree. I understand the Bubba Wallace comment. I think the difference being is that we don't expect Bubba Wallace to win, and we know Denny Hamlin's going to win. So I think there's a little bit of a difference there. I would say right now, if Bubba Wallace won a race like Kansas and dominated, do you think he gets the same chorus of boos that Denny Hamlin would get?
No, I don't. You're absolutely right. I think it would be more silent than anything.
I do too. I just feel like people are like, fuck.
Well, there's a whole different aspect to that too. I mean, you can't boo them, but
They do.
Yeah,
You've seen it.
you don't want to get canceled for booing Bubba Wallace. So, but I think it's more silent with just the random yeah, coming from the background.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
the one drunk guy in the back doing play-by-play during a caution.
Yeah, I get you. That's an inside shot right here for everybody to see. But now when it comes to Denny's legacy, I mean, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's now got 50 career wins. The only thing he doesn't have is a championship. How, in the grand scheme of things, Joe, after Denny Hamlin's career is over, where would you look at him overall whenever people go to reflect on Denny Hamlin? Because it always seems like, people think positively on guys after they've left the sport. I'll say more things nice about Jeff Gordon now than I ever said when he raced or different things like that. So, there's just different things that I think change.
Well, let me ask you this. What's your thought on Dan Marino never winning a Super Bowl?
Hold on, Joe. I have a child that is needing my attention real quick.
So obviously, go ahead. Obviously, you talk about, Denny Hamlin. And I think the biggest thing that you have to realize when you talk about Denny Hamlin, his legacy, is if he doesn't win that championship, then, he's just another race car driver at the end of the day. Championships are everything. Dan Marino, great football player, never won a championship. Joe Burrow, he could play for the next 15 years for the Cincinnati Bengals. If he doesn't win a championship, then he's just another quarterback. So Denny Hamlin's a great race car driver, but without a championship, it doesn't make him one of the greatest race car drivers, 50 wins or not. Truex fan says, and Denny Hamlin wrecking Hendrick Motorsports car was even worse than Hendrick Motorsports fans are crazy. Not sure what you're saying there, Hendricks fan, but I'll agree with you. And Chain Gang Sauls. I was at Atlanta a few weeks ago. Me and Ryan went to Atlanta in the spring race. It was cold as hell, but somehow we still got sunburned. I was at the Atlanta race a few weeks ago when Bubba wrecked, and the crowd erupted with cheers. Well, he wrecked the first go around at Atlanta too, and the crowd was pretty excited about that. So, but yeah, Denny Hamlin without a championship, he's never going to cement his legacy as one of the greatest race car drivers. Ryan's almost back with it. I was just saying without a championship, just like Dan Marino, without a championship, he's never going to cement himself as one of the greatest race car drivers of all time. I think he gets a championship or two before he retires. I think he's up there with the best of them, but not until that point. You got to have a championship under your belt.
So where would you compare him to guys like Ricky Rudd or drivers like that? I mean, do you think he belongs in that type? Is he higher than that? Because I feel like you would talk about him as one of the top 5 of our generation, like this generation of class of drivers right now. But does that mean anything? No,
that's exactly what I'm saying. I would say that Dan Marino is one of the best quarterbacks, probably, I would say top 7, maybe top 10 of all time that ever played the game, but he doesn't have a championship. So to me, every game that he ever played was pointless because that's at the end of the day, that's what the goal is a championship. And if you don't bring home a championship, then you're just wasting your time.
Yeah, I don't know if you showed this, but oddly enough, Joe and I
did.
Yeah, Joe and I were there, and that exact same thing happened 10 laps in.
You said exactly what I said.
Spring race was freezing. Yes, it was. It was absolutely freezing. The Xfinity race was absolutely freezing.
Nope.
So
Somehow we managed to still get sunburned.
that's true. That's true. The other thing I wanted to bring up during this race, it was Austin Dillon attempting to throw his helmet. So I did want to share that with you guys. It is a quick attempt. It won't win any awards. There we go. It happens very quickly. Okay, so he's down here.
Big hit. Oh,
Helmet thrown.
This is hold
He
on.
hit the car.
This is why you hit your cutoff. Okay, so here's the helmet. Car's up here. Okay, no chance of help.
You see, you got to lead it. You got to lead the car. He didn't realize that.
I mean, dear God, that looked like Joe's Pee Wee football team could spike the ball better and look more athletic than Austin Dillon throwing that
For
helmet.
sure. Yeah, we could.
So, do you think Grandpa is upset now? Not only does he have to pay for a new car, he has to pay for a new helmet as well.
I think Grandpa doesn't care anything for young Austin.
He's a great trier.
He is.
And what is bad is that he played baseball from Easy
I mean, did
Network.
he really play, or was he the guy in the dugout singing the chants?
He could be.
Yeah, I think so.
Hey, batter, look at me. I'm a donkey in a tree. You think that was the Austin Dillon's contribution to the baseball team?
Chain Gang Saul's made a TikTok of that.
Yeah. Truex fan wants to give his top 5 drivers right now. He's got Kyle Busch, Joey the Wrecking Ball, Denny, Kevin, and you got MTJ way too low, man. At first, I thought Joe and I were going to come on this show and talk about a 1-2 finish between Martin Truex and William Byron, and it would just be a back and forth about who is smarter.
Yeah.
Because it looked like that for a while, but
Right.
We didn't get that. Easy E says he played in the Little League World Series. Not sure how good he was, but he played in high school even, I believe.
No, I thought he was still in high school.
Damn. Denny is a hack, and Dillon is overrated. No, I don't think he's rated at all at this point.
Yeah.
It's been pretty rough.
He's rated about right where he needs to be. I think everybody understands that he's got that ride because of his grandpa.
Yeah. Yeah. Joe, I do want to talk about this. Is there any driver, I think the biggest loser today from a racing standpoint, I guess I'll take a look, but the biggest loser obviously is Daniel Suarez. Gets caught up in a wreck, ends up getting last place in this race, really plummets when it comes down into the standings. But I think, looking at it as well, I think probably the biggest person to gain is Michael McDowell again. I think Michael McDowell is proving himself. Him and Chris Buescher, if we don't get a new winner, they're going to be in the playoffs the way that they've been running right now. But is there anybody that really, that you thought was really disappointing in terms of the playoff bubble, or really thought solidified themselves this week at what, we never really know what can happen with.
So not really the playoff bubble. One thing I will say is I thought Chase Elliott ran a strong race today. I think he ended up with the top 10, I think right at 10th place, but he ran a little bit better than expected. He was actually in what I thought positioned to win for a while. Obviously that didn't happen. Christopher Bell, another great outing. I think, and it's not really a disappointment. Joey Logano obviously exits the race early. And I thought Ryan Preece was running a halfway decent race until he got caught up. So, and I don't like that guy either, but nothing really stood out. I was rooting for my boy JJ. JJ was running in the top 10. I think he was 8th or 7th or 8th there for a while when pit stops rolled through. I was rooting for him. I was hoping something might happen. He could stay up there and have a top 15 finish, but he ended up finishing near 30th position, 26th. I got it right here, 26th. But no, I mean not really on the playoff bubble. I could say. Really, this race finished about where I thought it would finish. Like I said, you had the veterans up there leading. Tyler Reddick, strong day, I guess. But outside of that, I wouldn't say that I was terribly surprised by anything.
That being said, Joe, I know you probably haven't looked at the updated standings because the drivers that Chase Elliott needs to do bad are not doing bad.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many points he gained from the cut line?
2.
4.
4.
He gained 4 points. He's 56 points back, and he started the race at 60.
Yeah.
So
okay. I think I was watching a running tracker that I think at one point he was about 10 up at one point.
Right. But I mean, it's just to that point, like he's run decent. I mean, you're right. He's run top 10, but top 10 is not doing. I mean, I think
he's got to win.
He's got to win. You're exactly right.
He's got to win.
Either that or a catastrophic failure with like 6 guys in front of him have to finish the bottom.
Right.
Well,
and that's got to happen multiple weeks in a row.
Right.
So, yeah, he's I theoretically, if your math plays out, there is a mathematical way for him to get into the playoffs, but that's just, I mean, realistically, it's not going to happen.
It's just getting smaller and smaller. I mean, it was one point, we said there's 6 races left. He's 60 points. He has to gain 10 points each week. Well, he just gained 4. So now he has to gain 13, something like that each week. It just gets harder and harder. And the thing that the reason why I said he wouldn't make it in is because he doesn't have race winning speed. Again, it was Byron and it was Larson. You're right. Bowman, Zach, did have a good race. I mean, he was in the top 10 all day, but Bowman's in that same position too, where he has to win a race. And those 2 guys right now just simply don't have the speed. And they're going to need the speed if they want to get in. Right now, it's just simply not there. So I don't know. I just don't think either one of those guys are going to get in. We talk about the road course races possibly for Chase Elliott, but now we got Shane Van Gisbergen coming back. So he might steal another win away. But guys,
I think if he gets 2 wins, they had to grant him a waiver into the playoffs.
That would be awesome. I mean, think about that. If he goes 2 for 2, I agree. You're right, and we should fund the trip from New Zealand to the United States for the final 10 races. Start
a real GoFundMe.
Easy E says Chase moved up 2 spots in points, but I think he wants to win and get in. I don't care like spots wise, Easy E. Not to like discredit you. I'm just saying I'm looking at the points. Like he can move up 14 spots, but if he's the 17th driver and he's still 60 points out, he's still 60 points out. I mean, 54 points or 56 points out right now. So the spots really doesn't mean anything to me right now. He's too far back to even worry about, the difference between 22nd and 17th. It doesn't matter. If you're 17th, you're out. So, next week we go to Richmond. Kyle Larson couldn't remember that he won there because he was seething with rage. He said he's go jump in his sprint car on Tuesday. But Joe, I want to talk one last thing about Kyle Larson. I honestly believe that if he has luck go his way, he could be the dark horse dominator in the playoffs. That I just don't feel like we're saying this enough and we're talking about this enough. Every time that something has happened to Kyle Larson, more often than not, it's not been his fault, and he's had speed, and he's always right there knocking in the top 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's just those type of things. If those go right, Joe, I know he's your guy. I'm not trying to, beat your chest or you know what? Probably shouldn't use the word beat. Anyway,
yeah, you should.
I'm not going to pound your pound. I'm not gonna inflate your ego.
You're not going to stroke it.
I'm not going to inflate your ego about Kyle Larson, but the more and more I see him run, and it doesn't matter what track, I think him and Martin Truex and William Byron right now should be the top 3 drivers going into the playoffs, at least in terms of who I'm hedging on winning this championship.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, and you're right. I'm not trying to be a homer with Kyle Larson. I try not to be. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what track he's running on. If he doesn't have mechanical failure, if he doesn't get wrecked or put in the wall, he's made some he's made some mistakes himself. on the track. And if those things don't happen and he's able to finish the race, he finishes consistent and he's always up there competing for a win at the end of the race. And, really, if you could put that together throughout the playoffs and make it in that kind of Final Four and have another consistent race, you're setting yourself up pretty good for a championship.
Right. And I agree. And, at the end of the day, kind of to wrap this up, I really enjoyed Pocono. I thought it was great. It was nice, Joe, to sit down and not have to worry about possibility of rain.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time in what feels like, I think realistically, a month that we got to sit down and watch a race, gather all your energy and your happiness, because next week's probably going to be pretty boring.
Yeah,
because it is Richmond.
It is.
So hopefully we get some news. Silly season is in full swing. We have no idea who's going to the College car. We also had no idea that Justin Haley could be leaving. I'm expecting some other things to drop. They made some news that there's going to be a substantial news break on a NASCAR video game. So you gamers out there, maybe we finally get a game with paintballs back.
2032, we'll be playing it.
That's right, 2032. And right now, Roblox is doing a better job with racing games than Motorsports. Who, let's see, I could check how they're doing in their stock right now.
Maybe we'll get some breaking news this week, and NASCAR will come out and say, we understand that the last 2 years at Richmond have just been terribly boring. And what we've done is put 1,200 horsepower in these cars for this weekend. We're going to see how that plays out. 1,200 horsepower and 2 sets of tires.
Yeah, that'd be great. So I was just checking right here. Motorsport Games, when they acquired the NASCAR license, was trading publicly at $139. And then they released what we have today for the NASCAR game. Joe, would you like to guess what their stock is when it was once at 140 in 2021?
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
After they announce that they're going to release?
That I'm guessing they're going to announce that they're moving away from Motorsport Games, but that's just a guess. I think they're going to bring a console version of iRacing would be my guess. But
I don't know, 90 cents.
$3.77, baby. So
nice.
Good job, NASCAR. Good funding. Also, one last thing before we leave. I just want to get this off my chest. I've backed NASCAR. I've always said that they just need to be consistent. The late not caution with Ryan Preece, I thought it was idiotic, because every time a car spun out by itself, no matter where it was on the track, they threw the caution. The fact that they didn't throw the caution, I thought was stupid. And again, manufactured what could have been a really, really good race into what was a disappointing ending. I know we've had these conversations before, Joe, and I've always preached the same thing. Just be consistent. If you let guys go the entire race and need them to get turned around and all these other things, and you don't throw the caution, then stay with it. If you throw the caution as soon as somebody spins around, then throw the caution when somebody spins around. The fact they changed it up on the last lap was disappointing.
Right. Well, Ryan, I mean, that is what it is. NASCAR is so bad about telegraphing what they were doing. They intended on throwing that caution. They just needed to take the white flag first so the race could be over, so we didn't have a NASCAR overtime. That's not what they wanted. So, as soon as they took the white flag, we got a caution. I knew that's exactly what they were doing.
Right. They just had plenty of time to throw the caution. They were like, well, we wanted to see Ryan Preece get up to speed, and fire his car up. And it's like, well, you didn't do that the entire day. You never waited for people to fire their car up. I mean, Christopher Bell spun, didn't hit nothing. They threw a caution. He was literally going forward again by the time they threw the caution. I just want them to be consistent. I mean, that's all that I want. That's all I've ever said. So I did want to get to that. I was on the verge of forgetting that. Joe, do you have a cherry for the top of this Sunday?
No. Like I said, I thought it was a great. I won't say great race. Thought it was a good race. I'm glad we got to see Pocono. Didn't play out for my boy Kyle, but still a good race.
It's a lot better than the race this morning where Max Verstappen won over second place by 33 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Great race.
A video will be coming soon. Joe and I will make a video on why Formula One has no chance to take over NASCAR as the #1 motorsport in America. Joe, make sure you write that on your calendar. I think this year, more than ever, shows the Americans will never tolerate what is the Formula One racing.
No, they will not.
That being said, it's the end of the Pocono race post-race show. My name is Ryan Pierce for Joe Spillman. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.